Doing this. All right, so rather than, do an upload like this, I decided I wanted to just sit down and start doing this. Because, live shows are really just kind of a flex more than anything else, especially for me, because, well, there's a lot of equipment here, and there's 4K video coming through here, and there's this, Fox Sports Radio, ESPN radio microphone in front of me. And why have I not actually done more of this? Because you don't actually need a radio station to have a radio show anymore, because we call those podcasts. So if you're new here, I'm RJ. This is my channel. Sometimes I talk about things like Alabama chasing Ohio State at number 1 in the 2021 recruiting rankings. I know, right? Big deal, because there's a lot of people that, frequent the channel. It's like, yo, RJ, what happened to OU? Yes, hello, it's still there. Talk a lot about Ohio State because Ohio State's got 305 points in July before the season starts and 19 commitments in the boat. And they're all really good. I've talked to a bunch of them. They're good kids too. But when you look at what Alabama's been able to do here of late, and you see Terrence Ferguson, my God, J.C. Latham, Tommy Brockermeyer, James Brockermeyer, and then you add to that, I made a video back in April mocking Nick Saban in Alabama because they were ranked 55th in the 247 Sports Composite Team rankings. Now they're ranked near the top. I think they're right there at number 5. Let's do some producing on the show right quick, because that's the way that everybody wants to do this. RJ wants to show up here and start talking without a rundown because that's what he does. And now we're talking about Alabama being ranked inside the top 10 for sure, but where in the top 10? Because I think they're number 5 right now, which is stupid. No, they're not that high. They're not that high. Okay. They're at 2! My God! I forgot this. Ohio State at 1, Alabama at 2, Oregon at 3, Tennessee at 4 with 23 commits in the boat. They're going to keep sliding just because they're, the quality and the quantity. Yeah. LSU at 5, USC at 6, Carolina at 7, Michigan at 8, Clemson at 9. Speaking of which, we got an interview going up on Sunday at noon with Barrett Carter, who is committed to the 2021 recruiting class for Clemson. Best friends with Jordan Hancock, who recently decommitted from Clemson and committed to Ohio State. Talk a little bit about that, so be sure to tune in. Number 10, Florida. And then at number 12, you got Texas. Number 13, you got Oklahoma. Now, Tristan Leigh figures into all of this because Tristan Leigh dropped the top 5 that included LSU, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Clemson. And spoiler, when I talk with Barrett, he's like, yeah, we're recruiting Tristan Leigh. We're recruiting Nolan Rucci. These are guys that we absolutely want. And then you look at what Alabama has done, and you look at the classes they put together. And I'm going, wait a second. Is this the greatest recruiting class at offensive line that Nick Saban has ever produced? Turns out, folks over at 247 Sports' Bama affiliate, Bama Online, have already done that work. And check this out. They got a current offensive line average prospect ranking of 97.13. What? The 2019 class was elite. That was Evan Neal, that was Pierce Quick, that was Amari Kite, that was Darian Delcourt, and Tanner Bowles. That was 95.39 was the ranking there on average. So we're talking about the highest average that we had ever seen in the Nick Saban era for an offensive line class, right? That routinely is around 93, 92%. And now we're talking about with just 4 signees, having a higher average. And if you get to add Tristan Leigh to that, that's 3 5-star offensive tackles. Now, offensive tackles don't move the needle much for anybody. I understand that. I get that. But if you're looking for which teams are going to win championships, you can look at where the best defensive tackles are going and where the best offensive tackles are going, which is why the J.C. Latham thing still reverberates to this day, him picking Alabama over Ohio State. Wow, right? Because they thought that they perhaps had J.C. Latham really was a shoo-in, and in being a shoo-in, probably lost him, but that's okay because they're in on Tristan Leigh, and they need another top offensive tackle. They need at least one to join this class. It's like the only thing that they really don't have that they want, 5-star offensive tackle, right? They got the best offensive guard in the country in Donovan Jackson. But you know what? Alabama got the second best offensive guard in the country in Terrence Ferguson. Which leads me to this other point that I wanted to bring up here. What the hell is happening in Georgia? Because I'm used to Kirby Smart being able to lock down the state of Georgia, and yet Barrett Carter's going to Clemson, Jordan Hancock's going to Ohio State, Terrence Ferguson's going to Alabama. He better get Amarius Mims August 15th when he announces. Otherwise, there's going to be some consternation in Athens. And for good reason, because Kirby Smart needs to be able to build his football teams from the state of Georgia. Not just for the reasons that I believe, which is that you got to lock down your home state, period, but because Georgia now produces the second most blue chip recruits in the country. The second most. That's behind Florida, which is another place they got to go down and get dudes, right? So the idea that you continue to lose guys to Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson is not a good look, especially when you're trying to compete for championships. That said, Georgia's won 2 of the last 3 recruiting national championships, right? And they're splitting them basically with Alabama. So we also know that, and we know that Kirby Smart can go into Alabama's coffers and go get what he wants, right? He flipped Carson Beck. He flipped Jake Fromm. He'll probably flip some more, right? That said, Ohio State seems to be so far ahead in all of this. And yet, if they don't win Tristan Leigh, and Tristan Leigh goes to Alabama, there's a real opportunity here because the Jalen Milroe thing is real. All right? So he lost a 4-star quarterback in Drake May to North Carolina. Cool. Legacy happens. And at one point, there's only one commit in the 2021 Alabama class. That was Deontay Lawson. Okay? That's why they were ranked so low. And now you might be able to add yet another offensive tackle who knows the numbers, because 10 of the last 12 offensive tackles that started for Alabama have been drafted, most in the first round, right? We expect Alex Leatherwood to be 11 out of 13 next year. And we also expect them to compete for a national championship. At least I do. I picked them to win a national championship back in January. I see no reason to back down from that. The only team that actually scares me a little bit in preseason is Ohio State, right? For reasons that you all understand. But the thing about Ohio State that I shudder to think about for them is what happens if Justin Fields go down. You don't really want to throw C.J. Stroud or Jack Miller into the fire. That's not what you want to do. But if Bryce Young ends up winning the job, you can go to a Mac Jones. If Mac Jones wins the job, you can go to Bryce Young. They have contingencies at Alabama that they just don't at Ohio State. And what I come to find out is in November, December, it matters who the backups are. It matters what your depth looks like. So that's one other thing to keep it in there, right? The other part about this that I find to be really interesting is LSU. Because, you know, with the re-rankings and whatnot, Rajon Davis goes from 5-star to 4-star. But they got like 13 4-stars in the class, another of which is Corey Kiner, running back out of Ohio. And they hope to add at least one more. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Oklahoma, Texas, outside the top 10. Could change. But for Texas, who is about to get rated, or so it looks like, right? Could happen, could not happen, with Milroe. And then there's a top athlete prospect that you really want, right? Billy Bowman if you're Oklahoma, but you want to keep him if you're Texas, coming out of, oh my goodness, out of Denton Ryan, where that dude has been stupid awesome. But also, what is LSU going to be this year? Because I could just easily see that class falling apart. You know, if you want to talk about just what their season might look like, I've said they could catch 5 losses this year. I still think they could catch 5 losses this year. However, Eric Gilbert was just named National Gatorade Player of the Year yesterday. And that's after catching more than 100 passes for like 1,700 yards at Marietta and leading them to their first state championship since the 60s. That means that when LSU and Texas play, we hope, you're talking about the National Gatorade Player of the Year in 2019, the National Gatorade Player of the Year in 2020 facing off against each other. Jake Smith is that dude in 2019. And oh, by the way, he was National Gatorade Player of the Year and Arizona Gatorade Player of the Year the same season that Spencer Rattler was a senior at Pinnacle. Now, his season was cut short for some undisclosed reason at Pinnacle that he violated some sort of school policy, and that ended his high school career. But you can't argue with white chocolate out there at Austin. Jake Smith is that dude, all right? The way people were talking about Christian McCaffrey, imagine if Christian McCaffrey was playing slot. That's what you're going to get in Jake Smith. Now with Eric Gilbert at 6'5", 255, you know exactly what that is. That is a matchup nightmare. And apparently the only dude in the class that was able to, mitigate the damage he could do to your defense was Keely Ringo. Where is he? Georgia. I'm not exactly sure whether or not that dude's going to be allowed to play corner, if they're going to move him to safety, or they're going to move him to linebacker, because he's just overgrown. But I'm excited to watch this 2020 class. That said, as the race continues for 2021, seeing how quickly Alabama vaulted to number 2 is the reason why Ohio State is on watch, right? Because the way that they were able to just make it happen, Charles Huff just out here doing the damn thing, Kyle Flood out here doing the damn thing, Pete Golding out here doing the damn thing, and then you got Nick Saban on the FaceTimes, you can understand how this thing gets a little wonky. You can understand how this thing turns out to be pretty doggone interesting once we get into the nitty gritty as the kids continue to make their decisions based on Zoom calls. That's where we're at right now. And we've done segments about decommitment season, and they don't really interest me right now because I'm more interested in how they're building the classes. But we're also talking about college football. And the thing about college football that is so wild about 2020 is we've already had 2 autonomous 5 leagues decide they're only going to play each other. We've also seen Kansas get added to Southern Illinois slate because their game with Wisconsin's not, and they're going to get paid $300,000 for that. I made this segment, and I continue to do this segment in that there's room for something here now for the Big 12. Because with the Pac-12 losing its game with Alabama, USC, and Ohio State, Big 10, you can see how the Big 12 wanting to keep all 12 games and possibly even play their full assortment depending on how it goes can actually help them close the gap when we're talking about competitive balance here. However, the problem for the Big 12 is the problem that it's always been, which is you got to have a team that wins a playoff game. And seeing as Oklahoma's been the only playoff representative from the Big 12 in the playoff era, you're also saying that Oklahoma's got to win that game. So it's a little bit farther down the road, but when we're talking about the money, there's a little bit here because the Big Ten's already losing money just by going to a conference-only slate, right? Despite what you might think or might not think about COVID. Where I go from there is how does the COVID testing continue to work and the 6 feet of social distance continue to work in a sport that is designed not to socially distance? Football is designed for people to clash into each other. That is the point of it. And we're going to try to play through this somehow. Like I saw this photo on ESPN of Mac Brown holding like a 6-foot piece of PVC pipe between players with his mask on. I'm going, is that what we're doing? That's what y'all think is going to work? I don't think that's going to work, dog. I mean, it's nice, but I don't think that's going to work. And seeing as we're still hard charging toward football season, we're going to see how this goes because the NBA is probably going to be able to pull this thing off if anybody's able to pull this thing off because they've already decided that this clean environment, this bubble, is their way to go, and they put a bunch of protocols in place to make sure that this thing can happen for the next 3 months. But that's only with 350 people they got to watch for. That includes like media, that includes NBA people, that includes the players. College football, not so. College football takes place on college campuses. There's so many legal hurdles here, and there's so many bad looks here. Talk with the Norman Mayor about what's going on in that city, 3rd largest city in the state of Oklahoma. And, there's a small college there called the University of Oklahoma. It's also a little football team called the Sooners. And she was talking about, hey, look, I love the kids, but having 20,000 people descend on my city is not necessarily going to help the COVID numbers. Yeah. And then those players that have been in this clean atmosphere got to commingle with students that have not been in that clean atmosphere. And you're going to have haves and have nots. And that's going to be a bad look. Because 1, nobody wants to get sick. 2, any of those players get sick, you got contact tracing. If you got contact tracing, that means that you probably got multiple players that are sick or at least positive. And even if they're not sick, they're positive. And if they're positive, you talk about 14 days of quarantine. If that hits a quarter of your football team, you're going to get destroyed on Saturday because, yo, man, the horse is out the barn. you're not going to be able to just not play football because you're going to want to be able to put that football on television so you can get that television money, which means that you could go out there with like 60 players and get drummed by Kansas if you're Oklahoma. It's just a bad week because the kids got to go to school with each other. Now, there are also these socially distancing parts of this that I find to be pretty interesting because I don't think it's going to work. You're going to try to tell me that you're going to have online classes where the kids stay in their dorms? Why wouldn't I just stay at home? What am I actually paying for? What scholarship are you actually trying to give me? I don't think that joint going to work. Meanwhile, in the NFL, they still don't know exactly what they're doing. Pat Mahomes stopped chirping about how unsafe he might feel and reminded that you getting paid $500 million to play football, dog, for the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe you want to calm down. Maybe you want to shut up. And Jamal Adams is being traded to the Seattle Seahawks for their firstborn, their secondborn, their fifthborn, the unwed child of their third-generation sire. I mean, that trade's so stupid. Jamal Adams is great, but he ain't no 2 first-round picks and a third. I mean, stupid. The NFL, right? I'm also looking at this from the standpoint of what does football look like in 2021? Because nobody wants to play spring football because nobody wants to leave money on the table, even as there is no money on the table, okay? Or there's money left the table. So we're talking about like Barry Alvarez talking in Wisconsin, is the Wisconsin athletic director, saying he's going to lose $100 million this year with a conference-only schedule. $100 million. They make $130-40 million from football. Okay, that's their football revenue. They had to stop renovations on Camp Randall, which, you know, we all make jokes and it's cool that Camp Randall sways, but it ain't a good thing. It's a thing that you need to get fixed. Same thing happened at DKR. DKR, they were doing renovations on one side of their end zone. Had to stop it right as the COVID started. And then you've had social justice in the middle of this, Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter has led to Joe Jamel Field being renamed Campbell Williams Field after the only 2 Heisman winners at Texas, who happened to be black tailbacks named Ricky Williams and Earl Campbell. Okay? That said, like, the other part that I wanted to do this read for was, what do y'all want to talk about? I mean, I'm here for y'all. Like, that's why the chat is in here. Trey Welch over here, yo, you the bomb. Get Joel Clatt on here. Joel's busy. Joel is welcome to call me or let me call him anytime he wants. But as I understand it, Joel's busy. I love to talk to Joel. I like talking to Joel. Joel's fun. Let me see. AG. So is this OU and Ohio State champ? Okay. Pipe down. I blocked a lot of people in June. Let's try to prevent all of that. Okay? Let's be kind. Let's be nice. Okay? Anybody can get it. I'm just saying. Anybody can get it. Sean Stapleton, been on this channel for a very long time. So OU gonna lose out on KD and its 3rd straight top DB prospect. Looking that way, dog. Looking that way. It's not gonna be a good look. And if it happens, we will have things to say about it. But be the 3rd straight top safety that Oklahoma hadn't got. It would be Kendall Daniels. It'd be Josh Proctor, who's at Ohio State, and it'd be Dax Hill at Michigan. That's what it is. Let me see. So Jerry and Stephen Jones dropped the ball on Jamal Adams. They ain't got nothing to give. What are they going to give the Jets for Jamal Adams? They ain't got nothing to give them. Like, they're not even in that sweepstakes. They don't have anything that the Jets want. They don't. Let me see. What's Chad doing? Yeah, okay. Yeah, y'all do y'all Ohio, Michigan thing. I'm from Oklahoma, dog. I'm from Tulsa. Oh, speaking of which, I probably need to break this out and like make this into like a separate video. But I think I'm going to do stickers. Like RJ Young Show stickers that I'm probably going to sell. Probably going to give a few away. But the milestone is coming up here pretty soon. We're going to be getting to 50,000 subscribers, which is bonkers to me. Especially as this is not a highlight channel. Like, this is a commentary channel. This is a talk show. I remember, like, even now, I got people like, yo, man, play the highlights over the top of your stuff. Like, no, this ain't that kind of channel. You want that? Go check out some other channel that does that. But like for us to be able to get to 50,000 subscribers off a talk show around college football, we got to celebrate that. So I'm gonna make some stickers. Probably throw a party or something too. Let me see. What we got? What are your thoughts on Gentry Williams? Best prospect in the state of Oklahoma in 2022. He plays quarterback at Booker T, but he probably plays defensive back and or wide receiver at the next level. Getting the offer from LSU was quite literally expected. All right. Got an offer from Oklahoma like a year ago. We'll see how much that matters. It ain't exactly been great for Oklahoma going into Booker T of late. I mean, the last big time recruit they were able to score, Dominique Alexander. Okay. You know, and it ain't like Booker T has been that great for Oklahoma of late either. I mean, it's hard to get Oklahoma to come to Tulsa anyway. And when they do, they usually go to Union or Jinx. And then they get mad when they don't get Justice Hill or Dax Hill. And I'm like, gotta recruit people. I mean, not for nothing, but Tyler Lockett went to Kansas State. I know Jinx, but like Booker T too. Felix Jones, Booker T went to Arkansas. Robert Meacham went to Tennessee. You know, we can keep going here because I got time. And y'all know I got all these facts about high school football in Green Country. But yeah, that was expected. Gentry Williams, here's my thing about Gentry. Gentry's future is actually in the Olympics. Like, that's what the decision's going to be. He is the fastest true freshman 400-meter sprinter that I have ever seen, like with my own two eyes. And he has the ability to race for the gold in like 4 years. Okay? If that's what he wanted to do, football ain't going to help him do that. Xavier Carter can tell you all about how football goes when you're trying to be a 400-meter sprinter. It ain't a good look. It ain't going to be that much fun. You're going to put on weight, you're going to lose weight. Trendon Holiday famously skipped out on a chance to go to the Olympics so he could get to training camp at LSU and return kicks. I can't get behind that joint. Stop that. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. What else got in here? Where do you think Mason Smith is heading? LSU? Till I hear differently. He's got to be headed to LSU. He's from the state. They've been recruiting him pretty hard. It's looking less and less like he and Corey Foreman are going to play together. And Foreman still looks like a USC lean at this point. It would shock me if he didn't go to LSU. Yeah. Seeing as that's where he's from and they want him pretty bad. See. Leigh may end up at LSU or Ohio State. Yeah, it's possible. Sooners need to move to the Big Ten. I made that video. Oklahoma needs to move out of the Big 12 is what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen. At this point, if it's the SEC or the Big Ten, I'm fine with it. Let's see. Do you think there will be a season? If so, yes, I think there will be a season. It's about whether or not the season's going to finish with 12 games, 10 games, 4 games, 6 games, right? I think we're going to start. It's about how we're going to end. Because getting started, at least right now, doesn't feel like the big, massive deal that it should. Getting finished feels almost impossible. RG need to have a crystal ball. I do have a crystal ball. I just don't talk about my crystal balls on this show. I put crystal balls in all the time. I do. I'm staff writer at OUinsider.com. I write about this stuff. Hello? You know? Let me see. Let's see. All right. What else y'all want to talk about? Any noise or news on Kamara Wheaton? Do we know when he might commit? No noise, no news. Everything is rumor at this point. And right now, it feels like Oklahoma's to lose because DeMarco Murray has made it clear that that's the one dude that he wants. And as I continue to try to report this out, it looks like Oklahoma's going to take one running back. I've said they need to take as many as 3. But if you're going to take one, you want to make sure you get the 5-star, right? And you want to get the 5-star from Dallas because it feels like it could be Oklahoma, SMU, or LSU for Wheaton. But we're all going to wait. Probably going to take it all the way to whatever signing period is. I'm not totally sure we're going to have an early signing period because if we can't have kids visit, then why the hell would we have an early signing period? Corey, why do people still want me to keep talking about James Williams to Miami? I mean, I get it. Like, Curb in Georgia, cool. But, like, there really aren't that many Miami fans that watch this show. I don't even think I got any Miami members. Speaking of which, now is a good time for you to join and become a member of the RJ Young Show. Corey's been around for a very long time, and that's what that badge means. And I think the badges are cool. I designed the badges, too. Let me see. Midwest Boxing. I got to donate before the bro heads to big time. I appreciate that money. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me see. What else we got in here? Do you believe the national championship will be a legit championship considering not everyone's schedule will be original with games canceled? Yeah, it's going to be as legit as Army in 1945. Wasn't that long ago that we only played 10-game schedules in college football, and wasn't that long ago that we had like 8 national champions. Like, that's why we have unclaimed national championships. Because people were like, no, we didn't win a national championship. Matter of fact, Georgia's got a national championship the same year that Clemson went undefeated and was recognized by the AP and the UPI as the national champions in 1981. They got it. And they don't let it go. I'm like, wait a second. We got an undefeated team that the 2 largest and most respected voting system said, hey, look, that's national champion. Meanwhile, Georgia's like, nope, we're claiming it. It's not the first time that's happened. Probably won't be the last time that's happened. It's not. Matter of fact, 2017, Central Florida, that's a national champion for me. They go undefeated. They beat the third best SEC team in 2017 because Georgia and, of course, Alabama playing national championship. I would have loved to seen Alabama stomp a mud hole in UCF, but we're never going to see it, so they get 2017 national championship. Now, I think this year, kind of like with the NBA and Major League Baseball, any title you win is not going to get an asterisk from me. It's not. It's difficult right now to play. It's difficult to think about playing. It's difficult to just get from your bed to the field of play knowing the COVID testing that you got to go through, the anxiety of, did I pick this thing up or did I not? Because so many of us are asymptomatic. We're like, I feel fine. Yep, but you're not fine. You got the virus. I think that all that goes into how you play and the conditions under which they're playing, the amount of other things that they have to go through related to the sport. Nah, it'll be a legit national championship. I would just be excited for us to get to a national championship game. Okay? Let's see. What else? Heard JT Tuimalo might go into late spring of 2021. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. You know, we saw that with, what's Jordan's last name? Went to South Carolina. Somebody's going to pop in here with the chat with it. But we saw that. He took his all the way through February. You know, basically leaving South Carolina out there to dangle. We saw Zach Evans didn't actually have a place to go until May. You know, like it's just going to happen. I'm all right with that. Chill Vic, appreciate that with $3 super chat. Expectations for Oklahoma secondary. Man, Trey Brown needs to have a hell of a season. Delarian Turner-Young, Pat Fields need to stay healthy, and Jaden Davis probably needs to try to take over that number 2 spot at corner. But Trey Norwood's going to help with the depth. We'll see what happens with Woody Washington, Jeremiah Cradell, the like. But it ought to be better. It's just about how much better. So if they get to the 20 takeaways, right, and 14 of those are picks, like a pick a game, that's going to be elite for me. That's when it comes to Oklahoma, that's going to be great. That's going to be outstanding. Indiana University football, but I follow the news. Oh, wow. Indiana football, dog? You must be lonely. I can't imagine how bad. I mean, that's like KU football. Like you root for the football team at a basketball school. Yeah, I can understand, man. You got to be out there by yourself, just holding it down. Like that, you all heart there. Sorry, you're not going to find too much Indiana content on this channel. I mean, shout out Antoine Randall. That's about all I got, dog. Speaking of championships, is this the year that the talk of expansion starts? No, it's been started. I've been talking about it. They're going to expand. It's just about to how many. They're also trying to play out this contract, which isn't supposed to end until like 2025, 2026 or whatever. All right. So Ted K over here just want to play with people, so he get put in timeout. I mean, I was cool with the 63-28. Just after that, you see, people forget there are controls on the YouTubes, and I will use them. Okay? Let's see. You think UGA's next recruiting class will finish top 5? Yes. Yes. I don't think that Oregon, USC will stay put there. I think we're going to be looking at Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and then we'll see, right? And then we'll see. LSU's probably got his best shot of anybody right now, but we'll see how Texas closes. And we'll see how Clemson closes, right? But, yeah, we'll see. I think the only ones I'm really, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, the only ones I'm comfortable with saying will finish in the top 5. Wish Zach Evans came to OU. Man, would have been nice. Kirby waits to the last minute to scoop in and take number 1. Maybe. Nick Saban still lives and breathes. I mean, I just started with that. Rutgers quarantines the football team. I mean, it's either that or get led to the slaughter. You got a first-year head coach who is taking in everybody's transfers and trying to build for years to come. Also, you play in a Big Ten that is dominated by Ohio State, but also has Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Yeah, Rutgers better quarantine. Otherwise, they're going to get the people's elbow dropped on them. Ain't nobody looking at Rutgers football. The guy, just keep talking about the Buckeyes. I mean, don't suck. They're good. And they're in the news. I follow the news. I like the news. I read a lot of news. I read the Atlantic, New Yorker, New York Times, Washington Post, Vanity Fair, Economist, ESPN, Athletic. You know me. I stay up on it. Man, I was only planning to do half an hour. I'm still here. Wow. Man, that's another thing that's just, we don't talk about on this channel, man, but like, y'all really don't like ESPN, and I don't understand why. Y'all be like, Fox Sports or die. And I'm like, can we not have them all? Aren't they all kind of cool? You know, people show up just to clown ESPN. I don't understand that. Let me see. If Texas stays healthy, will they be a challenge to OU, or is Herman on the way out? They better challenge. This is the year. This is the year for Texas. I've said that, and I did that in the preview for Texas. You can go check that one out. They're set up to challenge and try to win it this year and make the college football playoff with Sam Ehlinger, Jake Smith, Jordan Whittington, Malcolm Epps, Brendan Eagles, Bijan Robinson, Roshan Johnson back there along with Keontae Ingram, revamping the defense in the match quarters with Chris Ash as defense coordinator, Caden Stearns going to be healthy. Like, this is the year. And if it ain't the year, good night. Because Texas Christian is coming on next year. They're going to have Marcel Brooks, J.D. Spielman, and Zach Evans. In addition to Gary Patterson's defense, whatever the hell monster he decided to concoct. ESPN is pro SEC. Tell me another team that's winning national championships, or another league winning national championships. It's hard not to be pro SEC. LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Auburn. I mean, like, outside of Clemson, you got 1 year from Ohio State in the past 6 years. Then you keep going back to the BCS. Basically, since 2009, it's been the SEC. Plus, they just bought the rights to the SEC. Like, they're going to get it next year after CBS lets it go. It's difficult not to be pro SEC. What you expecting to be? Pro Pac-12? See, ESPN hates on Ohio State way too much for me. Man, I think this is also the thing. Everybody thinks that ESPN is just hating on their team, and I'm going, no, actually, I could find all kinds of broadcasters hating on all kinds of teams. I think y'all just watch ESPN more than you watch anything else. Worldwide leader in sports. ESPN gasses up the SEC too. I mean, like I said, dog, like, Vandy had a running back run for over 200 on Baylor. Vandy. Who is Vandy? Help me. You know, because when I look around, like, Oklahoma State got beat by a bad Texas A&M team in the Texas Bowl with a 2,000-yard rusher and consensus All-American at tailback. Tell me how you defend that. I'll wait. Facts. Let me see. Been SEC since 2006 when Florida stomped on OSU. No, it's been the SEC since 2004 when Auburn went undefeated and got shafted out of the national championship game. And then everybody watched USC stop a mud hole in Oklahoma and walk it dry. Nah, it's been the SEC's world for about 16 years now. Let me see. No ESPN should be pro college. What? You think the Pac-12 making the playoff the next 4 years? If it ain't this year, it's going to be hard, man. Because, like, with the conference-only slate, I think that helps them. You're not going to take the loss to Ohio State this year. You're not going to take the loss to Alabama this year. Oregon, USC could meet in the championship game. One of those teams could be undefeated. There you go. People love to put USC in national championship games. They love to gas up USC because it's a blue blood. Oregon is going to have to run roughshod over everybody to get there because they've shown people are looking for reasons not to put them in. Same thing with Utah. You know, what Feinbaum say? The country does not want to see Utah in the playoff. And then Utah did everybody a salad by taking that loss to Oregon. And that gave them 2. Oregon had to. The loss to Auburn, the loss to Arizona State. Can't do it. You know? Let's see. Oh, we got the Corius and Mason are still, I mean, you can't even spell Mason's name correctly. How am I going to take this comment correctly? Let me see. SEC never wants to play in cold. What? Cold. What? Yo, man, try that again. Thank you. You can't hate on the favor in the SEC when they are dominant conference. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right. What else we got? Any more questions in here? So I think I'm going to hang it up here in a little bit. I know it's impromptu, but like when I tell a lot of people that I'm going to do it, sometimes I just don't feel like doing it. So I felt like doing it, so I just did it now. You know, you'll probably be able to catch this on the RJ Young Show podcast, which, you know, you can download anytime, Spotify, Apple, wherever. How do you see Oklahoma's running game looking this year? Interesting question. You return Kennedy Brooks. You return 5 guys that started on offensive line last year. The only thing that changes is the quarterback. I think it's going to look like it did last year. It's going to be fine. It's going to be elite against bad teams. It's going to be good enough against good teams, and we'll see how it does against great teams because it ain't look great against LSU. Or did you forget? Let me see. An analyst said that the ACC was the second best conference in college football. I disagree. I think it's the Big Ten. That analyst probably was banking everything on Clemson having won 2 of the last 4 national championship games and having been a part of 3 of the last 4 national championship games, which I can't argue with, right? Because as much as people want to bag on Clemson for playing the ACC, they still show up in the playoff and stop mud holes and people and walk them dry. Like the same argument that people use for the ACC is the same argument that people use for Oklahoma in the Big 12. The difference is Oklahoma gets destroyed in playoff games and Clemson comes and throws haymakers and gets wins. So it's really difficult to say that the ACC is not sharpening Clemson when they play an ACC schedule. In the same way, it's really difficult to say that the Big 12 is not sharpening Oklahoma when they play a Big 12 schedule. It's hard. Yeah, I could see that argument. I think that there's more parity in the Big Ten. I think that those teams are really great, but Ohio State ain't won a national championship in 6 years. Clemson's won 2. What do you want me to tell you? ACC can't stand up to the American. Yeah, man, the American falls off a cliff after Memphis and Cincy and Central Florida. So you're going to tell me that if I put Tulsa or East Carolina up against North Carolina State, Syracuse, Boston College, that the ACC is not going to win 2 of the 3? You must be crazy. I love you, Corey. You must be crazy. Let me see. What else we got here? Okay, let me see. Snickers or Babe Ruth? Snickers. My dad's a Babe Ruth guy. He loved Babe Ruth. I can't stand Babe Ruth. My dad's also a Twix guy. Marcus Major going to be good. If his shoulder's ready to go, cool. If his shoulder's ready to go. I mean, I'm here for the Millwood love. How does the chaos in Washington, Oregon affect their college football atmosphere? Mostly what it's going to come down to is if the governor of either one of those states says you can't play football, that's all she wrote. You can't overrule her or him, her in Oregon. That's what you're up against. Thing about Oklahoma and Texas is both those governors want to see those football teams play. And the governor in Georgia wants to see Georgia play. Governor of Alabama wants to see Alabama play. Let's see. All right, I got time for one more. If you have one tough game in the ACC, then all you have to do is get up for one game for the regular season. So what's the tough game in the Big 12? Texas? Oklahoma? That doesn't follow. That's stupid. That doesn't follow at all. All right. If you like the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel because I upload a video every day, 4 times a day, 112 videos a month, every single day. And we're fast approaching 50,000 subscribers. Come up with them stickers, probably drop links, probably let you know about them, and we'll throw a party. I appreciate y'all. What's your opinion on Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, or who's better? Hey, man, I made that video. Doses.